Hello and welcome to your video on how to build a break-even chart. So what is break-even? You've actually learned this in managerial accounting, whether you're with me or with Matt Moore. And these are basically just our normal calculations that you've gone through in class. So you need fixed costs, you need variable costs to then figure out your contribution margin, and then you can find out your break-even sales revenue and your break-even units. Okay, so that's all something you would have gone through in managerial accounting. Now what we're going to do is we're going to build a chart using this information that's actually going to show us our break-even point. Okay? So this first example is just using hot dogs. Okay? So you own a hot dog cart stand and would like to find out how much revenue and how many hot dogs you need to sell to break even for the day. So we're going to complete a spreadsheet and chart to find the break-even point. Okay? So these are all of our costs. These are our fixed costs. So whether I sell 0 or 1,000,000 hot dogs, this is how much I owe in fixed costs. And then these are variable costs. So it's basically just my hot dog costs, because every time I sell one, I'm going to have more cost for the hot dog. And then that's the revenue I get for every hot dog. So we need to find out some information first for this example before we can move on to the break-even chart. So first of all, what are our total fixed costs for one hot dog sale? Well, that would equal my $65, okay? Because whether it's one or numerous, it's going to be $65. For one hot dog sale, my variable costs are 25 cents, which is the total of all of my variable costs combined. So what's my variable cost percentage? This is just like you've done in managerial accounting. It's your common size percentage. So it'd be your variable costs, how much it is for one hot dog, divided by how much one hot dog sells for. Now this would have to be a percentage. Okay. Your contribution margin percentage, okay, is 1 minus variable cost percentage. Okay, so 1 minus my variable cost percentage should give me, and I'm just going to put this in the middle, 83.33%. So remember, contribution margin percentage is how much money you have left over after covering your variable costs, which can then go towards your fixed costs and any profit. Okay? So now that we have our contribution margin percentage, now we can find out our break-even sales revenue, because it's fixed costs, so equals fixed costs divided by our contribution margin percentage. Okay? So we need to have $78 in sales so that we can break even. So we're not losing money, but we're not making it either. And then break-even unit is our break-even sales revenue. So our break-even sales revenue divided by the average unit price. In this case, we sell hot dogs for $1.50 each, so that's our average unit price. To see that, and we can get rid of decimals, we need to sell 52 hot dogs in order to break even. Okay, so that's nice. So every single day I know that I need to get to 52 hot dogs or else I'm not going to break even. I'll be losing money. That means I need to sell $78. So now let's put this in as a table first, okay, so we can then see it visually. So revenues, we can go at 0 hot dogs. How much do I need? How much does one hot dog sell for? $1.50. Okay. Now we're going to put an absolute reference on C29 because I want to be able to click and drag. Okay. So that overs, if it's 25 hot dogs, I'm still multiplying it by $1.50. Okay, and I'll just put that in the middle so we can see it better. Now fixed expenses, they're always $65, so we can do we can put an absolute reference there. Okay, and press enter, and then just click and drag because it doesn't change no matter what. Okay. My variable expenses, okay, for 0 hot dogs, I'm going to multiply it by how much it is for one hot dog. Okay, but since I don't have any sales, okay, and I'm going to put an absolute reference on L17 or on C27, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to press enter. The reason why I have $0 in variable expenses is because I haven't sold any hot dogs. Okay, but over time, I should have higher variable expenses. And all I'm doing is multiplying how many hot dogs I've sold in this table. It's just a situation basically here. So how many hot dogs I've sold times how much it is for one. And then my total expenses would just be my two expenses added together. Okay, and then we could just use the fill function. I'll put it in the middle. And then my net income, this is a very simplified way. Remember, income statement, revenues minus expenses equals our profit. So our net income. So we can go revenues minus total expenses equals net income. So we would be losing money if we didn't sell any hot dogs. And then we can click and drag. Over time, we see that we start to make money. So just after 50, we start to make money here. That makes sense, doesn't it? Because at 52, that's how much our break-even units are. So now that we've got this table developed, we can actually start to build a chart. So we're going to highlight only set information here. We're going to, well, you know what? We'll highlight the entire table. We're going to go to Insert, and we're going to go select a line chart. Okay. So a 2D line. So again, highlight the table, go to Insert, and select Line Chart, and there you go. Okay. So now, this is not even close to being done. We've got some more work to do. So we need to do a few things. So first of all, let's change this title. We can call it Breakeven Analysis for hot dog stand. Okay. Now please pay close attention to this video because there are quite a few changes that we're going to have to go through. I'll put the chart up here so you can see a bit clearer. Or actually, sorry. We'll put it exactly where it's supposed to go. Now, this chart is really not clear right now. There's only really three things that we need to look at when we're looking at our chart, our break-even chart, and that's our fixed cost line, our revenues line, and our total cost, or total expenses. Okay. So if you take a look, we've got way more information than we need. So if we click on our chart and we click on our chart filters, okay, you're going to see that we have a lot of different things highlighted here. We only need fixed costs, revenues, and total costs. So do we need hot dogs? No. Revenues? Yes, we do. Fixed expenses? We do. Variable expenses? We do not need, so we check it off. Total expenses we need, and net income we don't need. Okay, so these are the only three that we need. If we hit apply, our chart starts to look a bit better. Okay, we're still not quite exactly where we need to be, but it starts to look a bit nicer. So we're going to actually change a few things. We're going to go to click select data, and we're going to get this pop-up box. And we'll put it, sorry, I'll move this chart over here, sorry. I just want to make sure that we can all see. Okay. Go back to select data, and there you go, that's better. Now, we're going to go through each line, and we've done this before in some of our charts where we have to alter what we're looking at. So if we click on revenues for our legend entries and we hit edit, the title is revenues, which is great. Now what's the series value? See how it's highlighting the title as well? We don't want any values to have any words in them. So we're going to highlight this, delete it, and only highlight the dollar amount for revenues. And press OK. And you'll see that now the line has kind of come over to zero a bit. We'll go to fixed expenses, hit our edit button. We like the title. We'll get rid of the series values, delete it, and we'll just highlight over time, over the amount of sales. Okay. And the series name, we want to make sure it's fixed expense. No, sorry. So series name, oh, series value. There you go. Okay. And then for total expenses, we're going to hit edit. Again, make sure we're happy with the title. We are. The values, we don't want the word in it. So we're only going to highlight the numbers. And press OK. This is starting to look a lot more like a break-even chart. Even if you refer back to your managerial accounting e-text, you'll see a chart that looks like this. There's only one last thing, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, this should be really the revenues over how many hot dogs we sell. So our horizontal axis, we're going to click on Edit, and we're just going to highlight for our label range our 0 to 100. See how all of a sudden now it's at 0 hot dogs, we have $0 in revenue. But we still have our fixed expenses, because even when we don't sell anything, we still have fixed expenses to take care of, and then this is our total expenses line. Now the only thing that we really need to change as far as formatting goes is we're going to double click on our axis, and then we should get our axis options, okay, and axis position. We're just going to click on tick marks, and it brings the zeros together here. Okay. So now we're going to do a few things to this chart. If you take a look, revenues is the red line, fixed expenses are the green line, and total expenses are the blue line. Okay. This spot right here where total expenses and revenues meet is exactly our break-even point, because you see where we start to meet our total expenses, and we're not losing money, but we're not making it yet. Everything in this area is going to be profit. Okay? Everything before in this area was our loss. Okay? So this spot right here is our break-even point. So we're going to highlight it. First of all, we're going to hit our chart elements, and we're going to get rid of the grid lines. Okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to go Insert. We're going to insert a text box, just a small one, inside of our chart. And we're going to write break-even point. And we can write BESR, break-even sales revenue. And what did we said? We said $78. And break-even units was 52 hot dogs. Okay. Oh. And if we just, sorry, make it a bit smaller. And then what we're going to do is I want to highlight that this is the point. So if we go to Insert, we go to our shapes, and we go to the third recently used shape, or in the lines, it's the one with the arrow. We're going to click on the arrow. We're going to start from where we've written, hold down, click and hold down, and drag to this point. Okay. And now whenever someone's looking at it, they'll know that this is the break-even point, and it's at $78 in revenue and 52 hot dogs. Okay. So that allows us to visually see how where the break-even point is on a chart. So we can practice this again using a hotel example. So as I fill this in, this chart's going to populate, but we're going to put together this chart ourselves after. So revenues at 0 hotels, 0 rooms sold, we're going to have $0 in revenue. We're going to have $0 in variable costs. We're going to have our fixed expenses for sure, because even if we don't sell any rooms or we sell a bunch of them, we still have our fixed expenses, and then that's our total expenses. But now here's a scenario, it's 6,000 rooms. So what's our revenue if we auto sum it? Okay. And if we auto sum our variable costs, and if we auto sum all our fixed expenses, and then our total expenses would be our variable expenses plus our total expenses. This is an extremely cheap hotel to stay at, to pay less attention to the numbers and more attention to what we're doing. So you see how our break-even point is right here, where our revenues and our total expenses meet. Okay? So our job now is we're going to recreate this chart. We're going to make it look even better, actually. So what information do we need? This is where we're not going to highlight the entire chart because it's going to be a bit too much. So instead what we can do is we can only highlight the information that we need. So we can highlight our revenues. Remember, we need that. Hold down our control button. We're going to highlight the fixed expenses, because remember, that's something else we need. And then we're going to highlight the row that's got our total expenses, all while holding down the control button. Then we can let go, and now you can see how it's in dark shaded, the total fixed, the total expenses, and the total revenues. We're going to go to Insert, and we'll go back to our line chart just like we did in our very first one. Now notice that we have the start of what looks like our break-even chart that we completed on our for our other break-even challenge here. Okay? But it doesn't look exactly what it needs to look like. So we're going to click on our chart filters. We're going to go to select data, and now we're going to change some stuff. So again, if you remember, we went to total revenues in our first one, we went edit. Series name, it's got total revenues and a colon in it, so we can probably just write total revenues. Okay. And then if we highlight our series value, you'll see that it's including revenues, the word revenues in it. So we're going to delete that, and we're only going to highlight the scenario at 0, click and drag, and the scenario at 6,000, and press OK. Okay. And then we'll click on fixed expenses, click edit. Series name, we're just going to call it fixed expenses. Okay. And then our value for our series, we're going to delete it, and we're only going to highlight the numbers, which should create a straight line, right? And press OK. Total expenses, edit it, total expenses, so that doesn't include the colon. Our series value is just our numbers at 0, and then click and hold down, and then go to 6,000. So if we press OK, now all of these look the way they should. Okay. If at any point this is going too fast, please pause, go back to a step, pause it again, do it step by step. Now our horizontal axis shows 1 and 2, but really we wanted to show what sales are like at 0 rooms sold and at 6,000 rooms sold. So we need to edit that. And then what's our label range? 0 and 6,000, and press OK. We'll press OK. Now we're starting to look a lot more like a break-even chart. So now we can double click our axis, remember, and it should show up at axis options and axis options under here, and then we're just going to click on tick marks. Okay. Again, that looks better. And here we can highlight our chart. Break-even analysis for hotel. Okay, for this hotel, you would basically, or for the year 2015, whatever you want to. Okay, as long as it's explaining. Now remember, we had our chart elements, and we got rid of our grid lines. And then we created a text box, and we wrote in our break-even sales revenue and our break-even units, but we don't have that yet. So we need to figure out our variable cost percentage, if you remember from managerial accounting, which will help us get our contribution margin percentage, which will then help us get our break-even sales revenue, and then help us get our break-even units. So variable cost percentage. So it's going to be our variable costs divided by our revenues. This is just a common size percentage, right? Now we need to see this as a percentage with 2 decimal points. Contribution margin percentage, if you go back to our previous worksheet or your managerial accounting, it's 1 or 100% minus your variable cost percent. So 41.94%. Break-even sales revenue is our fixed costs don't change, divided by contribution margin percent. So this is our break-even sales revenue. We need to hit this much in sales in order to not lose money, but we're also not making any money at that point. And now our break-even units, we need to know an average rate here, okay, to find out break-even units, because if you go back, break-even units is break-even sales revenue divided by average unit price. A unit in hotels is a room, and the average unit price would be our ADR. So we need our ADR. If we do that, we can divide our revenues divided by our rooms sold. So like I said, very cheap hotel. We'll go 2 decimals. So it's $8.35 to stay for 1 average unit. Okay, so now we can go our break-even sales revenue divided by our average unit selling price to find out that we need to sell, we'll put a comma style, we need to sell 2,447 rooms to hit this break-even sales revenue and to make sure we get to this break-even point. So we can go to Insert, Text Box, Break-even point. We'll make it a bit wider. And we can go break-even sales revenue, $20,432. We'll round up. And break-even units, 2,447 rooms. Okay. And then lastly, we're going to enter in an arrow that brings us right to this point. Okay. Now you'll notice that we have a bit of a border, so let's alter this so that looks like it's coming from this box. There you go. So all we've done is we've identified the break-even point, where at which point we'll actually start to make money and not lose money. This is all using math that we've learned in managerial accounting, and you can go back and take a look at this as well. It will help you out.